So welcome to the Stock Hours channel. First of all, this is probably the first video on the channel. I'm here with a student that's been around in the chat for a while today. How long, Mason?
Almost a year, pushing on a year, just about.
Pushing on a year, so that's a pretty long time. Obviously, just because it's been a year doesn't mean he's the most well-experienced trader, but he's in the Stock Hours community. He's experienced compared to a lot of other new students. So today he had a pretty big day, and we're going to talk about what's been making him consistent, how he's been having good days, and we'll go into detail about his trade today. So first of all, Mason, you should show the live video here, your profits, and explain how that happened today.
For sure. So we hopped into Zoom first, and that was probably the cleanest trade of the day.
Okay, so talk about that trade today. We'll go one by one.
Yeah.
Why you entered, how much you entered with, why it was a good trade, why did you get in, all that good stuff.
All right, so we were looking at the Zoom resistance. What was it? 280. Let's check.
Yep.
The
280.
Yeah, the trade idea. So we kind of hopped in it as a chat, but we were all watching it basically for a clean break, and the volume kind of rolled in the morning. You can see right in here in the morning it just kind of took a little dip, and then as soon as it started to approach that resistance, it broke obviously very clean with super high volume, and so we all entered as a chat, got in. I believe the execution, let me see, how quick was that today? That was super fast.
It was almost like the same candle. I think I waited a little bit. A lot of people sold first candle.
Yeah, so I was in there for 1 minute and 6 seconds.
Nice.
And I hopped in contracts. I got in quite a few contracts. I think I got almost 50 contracts, if I remember right, and it's like a little over 20,000. That ended up with about 3,000.
I think we had about the same. Wait, you had 50 contracts?
Yeah, you got a better fill than I did on both ends. I saw.
Did I have 50 contracts? I don't even remember, honestly.
Yeah, I think I remember.
Oh yeah, I did have 50. So how much did you make on ZM alone? 2,900. Okay. And when did you sell?
I sold like just before you did, I believe, at 7:41.54 my time.
And what was your average? 566? Oh, 540, 530. Okay, so I had a better sell than you, 566. Okay. And just talk about
the beginning was early, right? Or what was your fill on your market?
428.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had a very high average, actually.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. All right, so talk about the trade. Why did you like it? So I know some people skip trades. Why didn't you skip this one? What made you interested in this trade? Why did you trade ZM today?
We had all traded ZM in the past, and it was like, it's been clean before.
It's also been ugly. I remember one trade being ugly.
It can get scary sometimes because the premium on Zoom, for whatever reason, moved like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, at first I was a little, hesitant to get into it, but then I remember I honestly haven't lost on ZM. It's just been clean but scary at the same time because the premiums move or flip so fast. So on this one, I don't remember. I enjoy, obviously, the trades where you can get in and not be down like 20% off the bat.
Yeah.
And this one, I think we were almost immediately up because those market orders came in and cleaned up all of the options, resistances, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And they just skyrocketed after that. People were buying, the buyers were aggressive, and it was clean. And then I got out quick because I was happy with the percentage. I know that you were in there a little longer.
Okay. Yeah, I like the percentage as well. Once I got in, I was up about 15%. It took a dip. I remember seeing 7% before it bounced right back up. So I didn't sell immediately just because I actually liked the trade and it was all-time highs. And actually would have paid to just hold all day. But of course, going in heavy, that's not the most realistic thing to do. It sounds easy to just hold till target, but it's not always like that. So can you explain why you didn't hold till target today? Maybe someone's viewing this and says, why did you sell so quickly? Why did it take you 1 minute and 6 seconds to sell?
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, in the bigger picture, a minute and 6 seconds is like practically nothing. That's the definition of the scalp, right?
Yeah.
When you're dealing with, it depends on what you're trading, but like with ZM, the contracts are 450 for almost $500 at that point. So I'm dealing with 50 to 100 contracts. It just depends on how confident I am and honestly myself in getting in and getting out. When I'm dealing with things like Tesla or Amazon, when the contracts are like, 3 to 6,000, and I'm only dealing with 10 contracts or something like that, I'm much more confident in the liquidity because I don't need a million people to come in and buy my contracts. If I'm dealing with 50 contracts on ZM, I could even sell half sometimes and be fine, like 25 of my 50 contracts just to be safe. I don't want to get stuck in there because someone else on the other end of my trade is hesitant to buy, all 50 of my contracts. I want to make sure that I can get in and out whenever I want. And
I like
feel
that.
Comfortable.
I very much like that. So, since we're talking about volume and what you're doing here, why don't you talk about what did you look at to see that, and how did you say, okay, this is good enough volume? So, talk about how you look at your contracts and what you did today before getting into Zoom.
Yeah. So I personally, depending on how confident I am in either my own trade ideas or your trade ideas, I look at the volume, probably the same thing you do, obviously. Look at the volume on each individual contract.
Yep.
I like out of the money because if I'm confident in the trade idea, I know the premium's going to flip. I'm going to have to plug in my computer in a sec. I know the premium's going to flip. I know that I'm going to make a solid chunk of change if I plan this out and did my due diligence correctly. But then in the trade, and some people don't do this, I know probably most people don't do this if I'm honest, on Active Trader. So I'll set my contract to Active Trader over here in the flexible grid, and I'll watch where the volume is on the buying and the selling side of that individual contract.
I like that.
If I see a huge wall of like 200 plus contracts, I'll go one under it to know that I can get the sell immediately or the buy immediately whenever I need to, or if I'm trying to get in and out quick, here's my buy and sell market buttons up here.
Yep.
But that's what I take a look at. If there's enough volume to keep the tight spread, then obviously my buy and sell market buttons are my best friend. If there's not enough liquidity in there and I don't feel comfortable with that, then I can hop in clicking this or this, and that's how I did it today.
Yeah, I love that you use Active Trader. It's actually a quicker way to sell your contracts instead of switching back and forth through the screens. I love that. So that's a good little trick that a lot of people don't know about. The Active Trader, I think we talked about this in a couple of our lessons a while ago. I don't remember talking about it recently, but that's a very nice little trick that you just talked about with the Active Trader in your contracts. People don't know that. So I like the way that he talked about the volume and how important that is. And then everything, Mason, I'm actually, smiling as he's talking because everything he's saying is just correct. And you can tell that he's been learning, the process and what goes into a trade and, how to manage your risk the best way possible, because not every trade is perfect, and Mason knows that. He's been trading for a year and he could probably tell you the same thing. And not every trade is great, so any side, you need to know when to get out, when to say, okay, this is not the trade, or this is the trade, let me hold. So he just went over ZM, which was a very nice trade. He talked about what he looked at. So what's the next trade today?
See, after that, I hopped into, so whenever I do like either my own trade that I'm not confident in, it's more of like a speculation type trade. I'll literally play with one contract.
I see that. Facebook, right?
Yeah. So with Facebook, I was just kind of like, I'm bored for a second and I can afford to do this. Sometimes I'll hop over to the paper money side and just screw with that a little bit because I don't actually want to lose money.
But you can afford to do that with a few contracts, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
people watching don't think you're just throwing money into things you don't understand.
Yeah, it's all based on the size of your account. So if you're dealing with like a $50,000 plus account, then a $400 contract isn't gonna move your account drastically, even if it went to 100% loss.
Nice.
And when I'm only dealing with somewhere between $500 and $1,000, and I'm looking to just practice getting my percentages somewhere between 5 and 10%, 5 and 15%, then that's absolutely perfect for me to practice on smaller contracts and smaller plays like that on Facebook. So
Perfect.
Let me see.
So let's go into the real trade, which is Tesla.
Yeah, let's check it out.
So talk about your entries. I see that you entered Tesla, 1, 2, 3 times.
Yep.
Yep.
So the first one, let's see, 857. Check it out. Alright, so this is kind of right as it took off, it looks like.
Okay.
What break were we? This was the trade idea, wasn't it?
Okay, so you're talking about the 1911 break.
I believe so.
So scroll a little bit down. Yep, right
there.
there.
Yep.
So talk about your trade. Do everything you just did with Zoom. That was a good explanation. Just do the same thing.
Cool. So Tesla is kind of similar to Zoom in the way that it's really only something that if you can mentally and financially handle it, you should get in on. And so I studied the trade idea out that you put, and I felt massively confident in it just because Tesla is super hype right now. I've read a lot of separate articles saying that not only are people buying Tesla just like actual shares, but the unusual options activity is forcing people to purchase shares and push the entire stock up. And I know that, with Battery Day coming, there's stock split coming, there's just a lot of hype around it. So that resistance that we had planned out in 1911 turned out to be perfect because it was right after this hype built up for the day. There's always some type of hype on Tesla intraday. Even this was right before lunch on the East Coast, and it still worked out. So volume clearly picks up right here. There's nothing right here for volume, and then a little bit of green, and then it just absolutely blasts off for the rest of the day. And so it was a clean break right here. We usually say don't hop in on a rising knife or whatever you want to call it. Don't catch that. But there was so much hype behind this, and honestly, so much volume. Like if you look at the volume on these 80,000 shares, you're talking millions of dollars in each of these candles. So pretty obvious entry on this point. So we got in. I was watching level 2 with this one as well to see if there were any walls coming up. I just click this and take a look at here.
Did you see when it broke 1911, it went straight to like 1914? It was like a $4 candle.
Yeah. This first candle, it went to 1919. And then after that, it just
wouldn't
the
stop.
sellers just stepped away. Like there were no sellers in sight. It was kind of nice.
Yeah.
So, and again, how quick was this one? The first Tesla trade, that was, let's see, 17 seconds.
And look, yo man, that's crazy.
Yeah. So the first Tesla trade, 17 seconds, and I was happy with the percentage because I was already up.
You told me that before we started recording. You said that Zoom. So talk about that. That's important because people want to know, and that's called discipline. So talk about that.
Like scaling, yeah. So what happened was with that Zoom play, that put me up almost 3,000, which you could be the richest man ever, and that's a solid amount of money for anyone. And so at that point, I'm kind of like, okay, I'm happy with the profits. I could walk away right now unless I see, the trade of the day come around or the trade of the year at that point. So I scaled down because normally I'll throw in somewhere between 20 and 40,000 in each trade.
Okay.
And on this Tesla trade, I did 6 contracts at 2,800. What is that? That is 22,000. So still quite a bit, but not as many contracts as I would normally play with, 10, somewhere around there. So I scaled down because I was happy with my profits and didn't want to risk all of that. The only risk I was going to take was break even. I wasn't going to end red for the day because I was already up basically $3,000.
Yeah, I like that.
It took off after that. My average after was 31.85.
So
on those contracts.
So everybody has their own risk management, and it could be 10% stop loss, it could be 3% stop loss, it could be account balance stop loss. Everybody has their own. So Mason, he had a plan for his risk management today, and it was, all right, he's up 3,000, he's risking to go break even and nothing red. So that's still an aggressive stop loss for a lot of people. Like, yo, why would you even try to go break even because you're up 3,000 for the day? But Mason thinks or knows he can afford that, judging by his profits for the past week, past month, past couple days, and judging by his account balance, he thinks that he can just let it go break even and always just come back tomorrow and get it back.
Yep. It was what I was comfortable with, honestly, and I enjoy it. It's part of the reason why I don't swing, honestly. Like,
yeah.
Even if I see a swing signal, I'm disciplined enough to not do it, because I've done that in myself in the past and just been burned so many times, and I honestly enjoy getting a full 8 hours of sleep. It's all about the mental game for me.
I can relate
at this point. So just being smart about it and understanding your own risk management, for sure.
I love that. So, we talked about the Tesla plays. We don't really need to go too far into detail. What was the best Tesla trade? We'll talk about that real quick. Was that the second one?
Let me see.
Right there. That was the 28 sold at 31.85. That was at 9.03. So talk about that trade, and then we'll summarize this with something you can say to people who are starting out.
Cool. Okay. Let's check this one. Yeah, this one was short too.
Yeah, it was at 9.03. Sold at 9.04-ish.
Oh, so it was kind of on the same hype train, so to speak.
Okay. So yeah, I see the volume there on that 903 candle, and you sold at 904.
If I remember right, this was something I saw on level 2. I'm trying to remember specifically, but
basically this hype had built up. We got in our trade and exited practically immediately because we were happy with profits. And then I saw sellers stack up on this. It must have been in this area. I think it was around. It must have been like 1932 something. I saw them stack up, and I'm like, okay, if they're clearly watching that level, then I know that as soon as they step away, it's just going to skyrocket again.
Yeah.
And so as soon as it did, it took off after that again, and I pretty much exited. I think I scaled out of this one.
Yeah, I see that you sold one, then one, and then, well, actually, you sold one, and then you sold the remainder of 5.
Yeah. So I had 6 contracts, kind of the same amount of money, again, around 20,000 or so.
Yeah, I see that. Almost the same average on the buy, just a few dollars off.
On the lower end of what I normally trade, if I'm totally honest. But I scaled out of one because, again, I was happy with my profits and I didn't want to crazy risk anything, and started to scale out, like obviously just a single contract. But then other people, that was what's cool about the chat as well, is it gave me the confidence to stay in that trade, because I don't remember if you played this, but I know a few of us did in the chat. And everyone saw kind of what I did and stayed in that trade. And so I scaled out of one because I wasn't 100% confident, but I saw other people in there with me, which again is a perk of being in the chat. And then I kept my 5 other contracts, and they paid an extra almost $200. No, a little over $200.
Yeah, I see that. Good stuff.
So those were good profits.
That was an amazing day for Mason, and obviously you shouldn't judge someone by their great day. It really doesn't matter. Let's just say Mason had this one great day today. It really doesn't matter, because the long-term goal is to have consistent days, not the big days. So the interview is not because Mason had a big day. It's more of what he did today to stay consistent and disciplined, because you can always make 6K and lose it the same day. It's, I've seen it happen all the time. I've done it before. You have seen a video of me making 23K and then losing it all in a day. Mason's been there for that. So Mason, let's summarize this and tell us, just give us a quick tip or two to the, traders who are starting out, and what they should be most focused on, that you would say.
Yeah. So I guess 2 things. There's one that I kind of just live by with trading, and there's one that I feel like I've known for a long time, but learned recently. The recent one is kind of a combination of don't revenge trade and 1,000,000% don't chase anything.
Perfect.
Like if you see a break of something and you don't get a fill, or you miss it, or you're just not confident in it, just skip it. Like no one ever goes broke from skipping a trade. You know what I mean? Unless you're financially irresponsible at other places in life, no one's gonna go broke doing that. If you walk away green or walk away neutral, it's just, that's the smart thing to do, is to be disciplined and get your solid rest that night. And then the other one, honestly the big thing is preparation. A lot of people think that even in a chat where it's a signals chat, like obviously with us and Nord, you can't walk in, click a couple buttons and become rich on that. what the chat kind of does for, at least for me, I'm sure it does it for other people, is gives me a funnel to learn, because we have lessons every so often, like probably 3, 4, 5 times a week sometimes. I think we review trades, go over the future trades that we could be seeing, and why we would or would not take those, so to speak. And then it gives you the tools that you need to become your own personal better trader. Like, you could come in and copy Norse trades and, you know, make money every once in a while, but you need to understand why we're in those trades, why we take those trades, and why we get out of those trades in the first place, and why we make money, honestly. So
100%.
Don't chase, don't revenge trade, and then learn while you're here so that you can become independent and follow Norse trades at the same time.
Nice. I like those 2 tips. Thank you, Mason.
For sure.